Hi, welcome. In this video, we're going to start implementing program 4. I will leave a few things out because I want you to have to fill in some of it, and you have a lot of resources to get help, but I will at least get you started and with some of the features and help you to get started with this program. So if you are not familiar with the algorithm, go back and watch the algorithm in Module 4. And if you're not familiar with the assignment, go back and watch the first video in which I go over the assignment as well. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to download this incomplete code that I have provided, the skeleton to help you get started. So I've already created my project, so I'm going to go ahead and paste the incomplete code into my project here. So starting at the top, you need to add your name, the date, and your description here. You don't need to watch me type that. Also here, these are for Visual Studio. So if you're using Visual Studio, these are provided for you. If you're not using Visual Studio, I encourage you to leave them here because if you need help, I use Visual Studio. A lot of the TAs use Visual Studio. So if you're needing some help and you attach your code to an email, it makes things a lot easier for me if these two preprocessor directives are already here. The only library we will be using for this assignment is printf and scanf. So the only library we're going to need is the standard input-output library. Now I'm not even sure if this compiles. There might be some issues before we get started. So let's make sure that this code that I gave you works. All right, so it does work. It just has a couple warnings because we have functions, like this function has an integer return type, so it's letting us know that that function must return an integer. But it does compile, and if we run it, it doesn't do anything. It just says have a great day. So let's go through these functions again. This is the greeting function. This is the function that displays all of the gas options and gets the choice from the item number and returns it. This is the function that takes the item number and is going to return the price based on that item number. The price is a double. This is a function that's going to take the account balance and the total. It's going to continue to get money from the user by using the add money function. And then it's going to make a purchase and return the remaining balance. This is the add money function. This function is going to continue to get money from the user and display and add money to the account and return the updated balance. This is the display balance function. This function is going to take the balance and display it onto the screen. Now I've gone ahead because this is an introductory course and given you the functions. Do not modify the functions. The purpose of this is to practice. So the way we're going to develop this program is we're going to implement the functions and then we're going to call them. So the main function is the driver. The main function is the place where the program gets started. So the first thing here, I did give you all of this information. So the first thing when you're implementing, if you were to be doing this, on your own without the template, you would implement the functions and then make sure that they work by testing them. And you can use your main function to call the functions and test them. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to work on is the greeting function. Well, the first thing we're going to do is add return 0 here. Technically, it should not compile without return 0, but for some reason, Visual Studio is relaxing that rule. All right, so the greeting function. So printf, you're going to have to elaborate, but I'm just going to greet the user. Of course, you should put a much better greeting than this, but there is no reason for you guys to watch me type. So this is the function definition for the greeting. And up here is the function prototype for the greeting. And then we're going to make a call to the greeting function. And I made a change. So what am I going to do? I'm going to build it and test it and make sure that it works. Greet the user. Okay, so again, that's not a good greeting, but that's enough for now. for this explanation. You guys have to add to that. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want to implement this function. This function is called display gas selections. So what this function does is it's going to display the options. Display the options, which would be like one for example, one for, I don't even remember. Let's take a look at here on the assignment. All right, so in the sample output, one for regular, two for, so these are the options. So of course you're gonna have to write all of the printfs to display these options. So I'm not gonna have you watch me type that, but one for regular and the price, etc. So this function right here is going to display, it's going to have a bunch of printfs, nice and neatly formatted, display the options, and then it's going to display them onto the screen for the user. Now, what else is it going to do? It's going to declare, ask, and get and return the item number. So you're going to declare int item num. So you're going to display the options, and then you're going to have, again, you have to elaborate. I left part of that out. Printf, enter the item number. Scanf. Okay, if it's a integer, we use %d. So each function is a little sub-program that does its own work. This function, display gas selections, could be used in any program that needs these gas selections and have the user enter the price. So this is a little sub-program that should exist on its own. So when you're writing a function, you focus on just what that function does. And then to test, to make sure that the function works correctly, then you make a function call to it. So we're going to return the item number. If you notice, our return type is integer. So we're going to return the item number, which is also an integer. If you are having problems understanding how functions work, so then you need to go back to Module 3 and watch the videos and look at the notes and get a better understanding of programmer or user-defined functions. All right, so now I've done this function. Now it's time to test it. This is my function definition. Its placement is below the main function. This is my main function, and my function prototypes are above the main function. So this is the function that we would like to use, because this is the one that we just implemented. So this function, all function calls have a name, parentheses, and a semicolon. Because this function has an integer return type, it's going to be in the form of an assignment statement. So we're going to have int item num in main. You don't have to name it that, but I'm naming it that just to illustrate that the local variable in main is the item number. This is local to the main function. It is very different than the item number that is inside of this function, because this one is local to this function. So go back to Module 3 and review the idea of local variables. All right, so we're going to return that. And then I just want to make sure that it works. So I'm going to printf here, you selected %d. Now, some of you are probably watching this and saying, "Oh, you skipped the account balance function." I'm just implementing the function definitions in order, and I'm actually going to leave a few things out. So I want you guys to practice on your own to do the display balance function. The definition, the call, you need to declare your balance here and initialize it to 0. And so I want you guys to, some of the things I think that you guys need to work on yourself. So I'm not going to put everything into this video. I'm just giving you some tips for some of the functions. All right, so here we are. We have declared the item number in main. We're going to greet the user. Then we're going to display the gas selections. That function is going to get called. It's going to jump out of the main function, display the gas selections. The user is going to enter a number. It's going to jump back to the main and print that number onto the screen. So let's test that. So if you select 5, it's going to display 5. If you select 3, it's going to display 3. In the next video, we'll do a couple more functions.